there, Star Wars collectors, and welcome to another Bossk Bounty video. Welcome to episode 83 of Ask Bossk Bounty, the weekly series where you guys ask me questions in the comment section below, and every week I do my very best to answer them for you. So if you do have a question for next week's episode, please leave it in the comment section below, and hopefully you'll be featured next week. Loads and loads of questions to get through again this week. It's going to be a bumper issue again, and of course later on in the video I will be doing the draw for the giveaway, which is this awesome custom Bossk by Twin Suns Customs. So before we get on to the first question, if you do happen to enjoy the video, always hit that like button down below because it really does help the video and the channel, much appreciated. And let's get straight on to the first question. The TV Baby 83 says, question, do you buy 2 of every figure or a case? I'm thinking of buying a case of each run and just selling the extras at cost. So I tend to buy 3 of each, maybe 4 if Little Bossk wants one. Essentially I buy 1 for carded, 1 to open on a review, and 1 for, you know, just in case. Edstrom asks, if you could visit one planet location in the Star Wars universe, which would it be? That would most definitely have to be Tatooine for me. At the end of the day, there's nothing going to be better than hanging around the cantina and getting in with the Tonica sisters. Dials H95 says, question for next week's draw, where do you recommend picking up previous Vintage Collection release figures which are no longer in stores? eBay? eBay is an option, but I would personally recommend Facebook collectors groups like the Vintage Collection group for the US and the Vintage Collection UK group for the UK. Always get plenty of figures in there that people are selling. Amanda Carrington says, what would be your ultimate grail piece? So this changes every so often. So at the moment it would be a Palatoid Bossk on card, which I will throw an image of on the screen now. Absolutely phenomenal. This would be so good in my collection to go with my other carded Bosks. In terms of Vintage Collection, it would have to be the Jar Jar Binks in Carbonite. That is the one thing that's really sticking out that I need in my collection. Matthew Martin says, with so many amazing custom figures circulating, why can't Hasbro keep up with more figures from all the movies in 3.75? And what would your must-have figure from Rogue One be? In answer to your first question, I've got to be honest, I just have no idea. You know, I wish they would commit more to the Vintage Collection and the Black Series, really, getting more things out there. Perhaps they think the market's shrunk or something. I really do not know. In terms of your second question, it would have to be Director Krennic if I was going to pick anything, because he's the main villain, and I've got a video coming out tomorrow about the main villains from the Vintage Collection, which I hope you guys will want to check out. It's a pretty good video, some really good artwork in there of concept card backs for figures, villains that I want from the Vintage Collection. So that's going to be airing tomorrow. Wyatt Taylor says, what is the one vintage collectible that you had when you were younger that you got rid of, stroke sold off, that you wish you hadn't now? So something I had when I was younger that I got rid of would definitely be my last 17 figures. I had pretty much all of the last 17 figures, and those go for an extremely high amount, whether you want them loose or carded now. And I'm missing a lot of them from my vintage loose collection, so it would have to be those. Exil1543 says, what is your favourite single moment in all of Star Wars canon? Mine is when Darth Vader strikes down Obi-Wan. Yeah, that's a pretty iconic scene. It's very, very difficult to pick one moment from the whole of Star Wars canon, but one thing that always sticks out for me is when Vader and Luke have their conversation just before he hands him over to the Emperor. You know, Luke Skywalker almost gets him to turn back to the good side, but he's just too far gone, and I just love that scene. Stephen Angel says, Bossk, you are one of the most important players in the 3.75-inch activism community. Thank you, mate. With that, I do have an important question to ask you. What do you think was the most influential band to come out of the Manchester post-punk new wave scene? Okay, so for me, the most important band to come out of Manchester in that era was probably the Stone Roses, then possibly the Happy Mondays, 2 of my favourite bands, and then of course later on you've got Oasis, who, let's face it, Oasis were influenced by the Stone Roses. So yeah, those 3 bands are great bands, all from Manchester. Commander Mean says, do you think Hasbro should re-release the Rogue One Stormtrooper, and what other troopers would you like them to repack in the Vintage Collection? Thanks. So in terms of the Rogue One Stormtrooper, that should be a figure that's out all the time, in my opinion. It should just be available all the time. Everyone can always just pick up an extra Stormtrooper. It would just sell all the time. There's just no reason for them not to do that. In terms of other troopers to be repacked into the Vintage Collection, I'm not sure there is any really that I'd like to be repacked. From now on, I'd pretty much like all new troopers to be newly sculpted, just like the Rogue One Stormtrooper. Devin Rizzavato says, what is your favourite Vintage Collection playset so far, and do you want them to continue? My favourite is the Jabba's Palace. Now that is why I have this out in front of you here. For me, it has to be Jabba's Palace, closely second by the Tanti 4 playset. I love that playset. But in terms of a playset and like a mini diorama, you cannot go wrong with the Jabba's Palace playset. I absolutely love it, and it gives you that ability to have the richness of characters. And of course, Hasbro have released many of the figures in the Vintage Collection since. So obviously we've got the Leia, Reese, we've got Yak Face. Obviously, there's still a lot more. We've got Lando. There's still a lot more that they need to give us. They re-released the Gamorrean Guard. But as I say, there are lots and lots more that they do need to give us to continue filling out the Jabba's goons. Vader111797 says, what's your favourite Star Wars comic book series? Mine is currently Darth Maul, son of Dathomir. Yep, I think mine would have to be the Darth Vader series that first introduced Dr. Aphra. Amazing series. And the number 3 of that series, where Dr. Aphra was first revealed, I believe, that number 3 comic is quite expensive now on the secondary market. So if you haven't got that one, I advise get it now before it shoots up in value. Kevin Lucas says, why do you think the Marvel Legends figures have a better card stock than the vintage collection? Do you think this will prompt a change? Yeah, those ones are exceptional card backs, aren't they? Really, really good card stock on those ones compared to the vintage collection. I really don't know what's going on, but it has been brought up on Hasbro Q&As. They are aware of it, so let's hope they improve it and give us better card stock on the vintage collection, especially with those 50th anniversary figures. Mine all came with little creases on them and stuff, which is a bit annoying. Liam K says, question for next week, who is your favourite Cantina Alien? It's got to be Hammerhead. Andy McGlashan says, question for next week, does Hasbro value the Black Series over the vintage collection as it seems to get preference on new figures such as the Bad Batch and Mandalorian Season 2? And if you think it does, why? Happy belated birthday, little Bossk. Thank you very much. Yeah, it does. There's no two ways about it. I mean, they say it doesn't, but it does, because at the end of the day, they make more money out of a Black Series figure. Essentially, the tooling costs are very, very similar. A little bit more costs on an extra bit of plastic because they're bigger, but essentially they make them more money. So that's where their focus is. Isaac Villa says, quick question, does Little Bossk enjoy the sequels more than you do? Just kind of curious. No, not particularly. He doesn't really watch the prequels. He is definitely a Return of the Jedi stroke Mandalorian type of kid. Alright then, so it's time to draw the winner of the giveaway. Okay then, so we're going to pick the winner right now for the carded custom Bossk by Twin Sons Customs. And what we do here is we just put the URL of the video into the box there, and then we filter out duplicate users to make sure that it's all fair. There's only one entry per person. So if we do get the comments, and then we do have 172 unique comments, which means you've got a 1 in 172 chance of winning. So if we go down here, now I did say that the competition was someone had to ask a question in the comments. So if this does bring up just a random comment, unfortunately, they will not win the prize. You have to have asked a question. And I do apologise right now if your question wasn't included in this week's episode. But let's have a look and see what happens. Darkon633, and he says, happy birthday, Little Bossk. I hope you had a great one. So here's a question. What was considered the hardest figure to find of each of the 3 films in the UK during the original toy run? That's actually a good question, and it's one that I wouldn't have really known because back when I was buying them, I was too young to sort of know that sort of thing. Sorry I couldn't answer your question in the video, but you are the winner, Darkon633. So if you would like to contact me on either social media or email me at tim@bosksbounty.com just to let me know that you've won. I'll give you 7 days to contact me, and if you don't contact me within 7 days, then I will have to run the competition again, unfortunately, because just that's the way it works. But thank you everyone for joining in, and let's carry on with the video. William Wallace says, here's my question to be entered into the giveaway. Junkman just made a video saying that the original Bossk figure was a remake of the blue Snaggletooth. Do you agree? Yeah, I actually thought that that was pretty much common knowledge. I think that the blue Snaggletooth is very similar to the Bossk figure. They obviously used the sort of clay sculpting to amend it slightly for Bossk, but yeah, I always thought that that was the case. Tammy Boy says, if you could re-release a 3.75 inch vehicle to the vintage collection, which would you choose? So a vehicle that wasn't in the vintage collection ever would have to be the speeder bike. That needs to be re-released into the vintage collection. That 2012 Toys R Us exclusive one would be perfect. In terms of a re-release from the vintage collection, then I'll just have to go with the Republic gunship. I would love one of those for all my clone troopers. Justin Riley says, okay, my question is, do you have an insider at Hasbro who provides you with leaks, but then having to keep stum to keep their identity safe? Or does your information just come from keeping your ear pressed to the ground, so to speak? Okay, so there has been previous occasions where I have heard of product that's coming from other sources that aren't Yakface, essentially. Most of the information we all get is from Yakface and, as you mentioned, keeping our ears pressed to the ground. But there was an occasion with the Slave One and the Millennium Falcon and the Carbon Freezing Chamber where I heard that those were coming. I don't know anybody at Hasbro that would, you know, leak me any information essentially. But on that occasion with those 3 items, I did know they were coming way, way, way before And yeah, as we all know, I got a bit of stick in certain Facebook groups for, you know, saying that information, and they all thought I was making it up, which we all know now I wasn't. Corey Doe says, "Hey Tim, if you ever had to collect a different line non-Star Wars, what would it be?" I think it would have to be Action Force, which was the sort of UK version of G.I. Joe before they kind of merged, basically. Love Action Force. I'm also interested in Mask and Transformers. Wes Summer says, quick question, what is your wife's favourite Star Wars movie? Oh, I think that'd probably have to be The Force Awakens. She does like that one. But she also absolutely loves The Mandalorian as well. We watched that as a family. That's the first time we've kind of all sat down with my daughter as well, watching something from Star Wars. We all enjoyed The Mandalorian. Ollie Star Wars Guy says, hi Boss, question, what do you think of The Bad Batch so far? So I think it's good. I'm enjoying it. I love the animation. I think it's very, very high quality. The only thing that's getting a bit annoying for me is the little girl. I think, you know, I'm not sure if I can take too many more episodes where she either messes up and then she has to be saved, or she ends up saving the incompetent clones. So that's a bit narking on me. But apart from that, it's a great show. Mike Nad says, hey Boss, do you have any predictions for the Comic-Con exclusive this year? What would you like to see? I wish we would get things like the Chamber with Jar Jar on, or the Death Star set, but I feel they are done with big packs like that and will continue with 3-packs. Yeah, I think you're right. I think we'll probably see a 3-pack. I think I've said it before, it'd be ace if we could have the 3-pack of Bo-Katan, Axis Wolves and Koska Reeves, I believe is her name. So that would be pretty cool. Yeah, or maybe a Rogue One 3-pack. I don't know, because they did say that we're going to be doing more with Rogue One this year, and we haven't really seen that yet. I mean, I was expecting a few more, but we'll have to just wait and see. Ralph A says, question for next week, with the rumours of the Emperor being released later this year, and it looks like the playset is coming too, any chance that it might be the Emperor's throne room, with the current re-release of the Guards and some other Return of the Jedi figure during the year? Keep up the great work. Love your channel. That would be an awesome idea. I would love the throne room. You're right. We've had the Guards. The Emperor is heavily rumoured. And if they go along with the fact that you always get a pack-in figure with a playset, then wouldn't it be cool if they could give us the Imperial Dignitary, Simu or someone like that within that set? That would be absolutely fantastic. Will Hasbro do it? We'll have to wait and see. I highly doubt it, giving us a figure that good in one of those sets, but you never know what can happen. DXN Digital says, loving the channel, you really widen the community with these. Thank you very much. Which figures do you prefer to display? The vintage Kenner figures or the Hasbro vintage collection? That is a tough choice. I'm a child of the early 80s, so it would have to be the vintage Kenner if I had to choose between the two. But as you can see here, I do have a bit of a mix going on. Well, kind of. I've got Squidhead in there because we're missing Squidhead from the modern line, but he doesn't look out of place with these other figures, so... But I think, yeah, if I had to pick, it would be the original figures. Sean Mack says, first, happy birthday, Little Boss. 2 questions for next week. What was some of Little Bossk's favourite birthday presents, and did he have a great day? He had a fantastic day. We had a great day, and he got everything he wanted. Lots and lots of Star Wars figures, of course. He also got some Fortnite figures. He's absolutely obsessed with Fortnite. And from his sister, she bought him some V-Bucks for his Fortnite account. But I would probably say his favourite thing is, yeah, his Rogue One figures. Very kind of Gary Dickens also to give him the Rogue One Darth Vader. He absolutely loves that. Wolf Gameplay and Review says, quick question, what is Little Bossk's favourite Black Series figure? That has to be the Heavy Infantry Mandalorian. He absolutely loves that figure. Smuggler's Canyon says, happy belated birthday, Little Bossk. Do you think that Hasbro will increase the number of the vintage collection figures we get to coincide with all the new scheduled media? Cheers. I really hope so, my friend. They're really going to have to up it, in my opinion, with all the things that are coming out. Otherwise, they're just going to have a serious backlog. We've already got a backlog with The Mandalorian, and we don't want to see that happen with the Book of Boba Fett, Andor, Kenobi, and all the other things that they've got coming. So, yes, production will have to be ramped up, and it'll be interesting to see what they do. Alright then, guys, that's it for this week. It was a bumper episode this week. Loads and loads of questions. I answered them as quickly as I could, but as still detailed as I possibly could for you guys. Thank you very much for watching, and don't forget to watch tomorrow's video about the villains of the vintage collection and how underrepresented they are in the line. But thank you very much for watching as usual, and we shall see you on the next one.